Here, I'll give an outline of the overall argument and program of Schweickart's article. Then we'll look closely at each part. First, Schweickart critically reviews the perspectives of Peter Singer and Thomas Pogge and identifies shortcomings specific to each perspective. Then, Schweickart identifies a big problem common to both Schweickart identifies a big problem common to both philosophers, namely the failure to recognize that capitalism is intrinsically incapable of ending poverty. Third, he sets out the basic elements of an economic democracy, a different economic system that Schweickart thinks would be capable of ending poverty. And lastly, Schweickart responds to the objections of people who believe in sort of less revolutionary solutions to the problem of global poverty. I'm going to ignore this last part in these PowerPoint slides because getting through points 1 through 3 will be complicated enough and take up plenty of our sort of time and thinking for now. But you may want to reflect on it, namely this last idea, this last part of the article, you can reflect on it as you're developing your own opinion on Schweickart and the broader issue of what can be done about global poverty. In section 1 of his article, Schweickart discusses what the two philosophers, that is Singer and Pogge, agree on. They agree on many descriptive elements of the problem of global poverty, or they agree on certain facts of the matter, as well as they agree that it is a problem that needs to be addressed. So in other words, they agree that global poverty is vast or is massive, right? As of 2008, when this article was written, almost half of our global population, that's about 46%, lived below the World Bank's global poverty line of $2 a day. They agree that global poverty is technically feasible to eliminate. Pogge argues that it could be solved with $312 billion a year, which, even though it sounds like a lot of money, is only 1% of our total global income. Singer argues a little more intricately that if the top 0.01%, so the top 100th of 1%, contributed a third of their annual income, leaving each household with an average of $8 million to spend as they please, and the rest of the top 1/10 of 1% contributed a quarter of their income, leaving them with an average of 1.5 million, we would have about 126 billion, and that is 5 billion more than was needed in 2006 to alleviate these problems of global poverty. That is to say, without any additional contribution from any government or any non-US citizen or any US citizen from the bottom 99.9% of our population, we could meet the Millennium Goals. This is what Singer is presenting in his approach to global poverty. And so remember from the article that the Millennium Goals were set by the United Nations in the year 2000 with the intention of tackling global problems like high rates of hunger, access to schooling, infant mortality, access to safe drinking water, and the spread of HIV and other major diseases. You can check out page 472 of the article if you need more of a refresher on these Millennium Goals here. But they both believe that global poverty is technically feasible to eliminate. We have enough resources on the earth, in terms of money to resolve this particular puzzle of income inequality on the global scale. They also agree that something must be done by us. Singer says, quote, "Discussion is not enough. What is the point of relating philosophy to public and personal affairs if we do not take our conclusion seriously? In this instance, taking our conclusion seriously means acting upon it. The philosopher will not find it any easier than anyone else to alter his attitudes and way of life to the extent that, if I am right, is involved in doing everything we ought to be doing." End quote. And in Pogge's words, quote, "The fact that we choose to remain ignorant, choose to allow important structural features of the world economy to be shaped by unknown bureaucrats in secret negotiations cannot negate our responsibility for the harms that our governments inflict upon the innocent." End quote. Singer and Pogge, like Schweickart, assess global poverty as a moral problem, one with a solution. Their analysis, largely utilitarian in approach, reveals a benefit of a utilitarian framework, especially where money is concerned. We can count what resources we have and what resources are required. It's simple to quantify the problem and the solution in this utilitarian framework. The ought that these philosophers prescribe, or what they say we should do, is based on the descriptive claims of how things are and of what can be done. They disagree on how exactly we should try to solve the problem. Singer argues the solution will be through philanthropy and governmental foreign aid, while Pogge argues the solution will require some policy reform, specifically reform to the global trade system. So now let's take a closer look at their arguments and Schweikart's critiques of them.